This is a game I played a few days ago. My opponent is rated 1312 and I'm rated 1321 for this game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a few key moments in the game. I'm not going to do a full analysis video, but it's going to be a light analysis of some of the good moves I've made and some of the bad moves I made. Okay, here we go. And the way the key moments works is that once I click the key moments button, you'll see the moves kind of they'll speed up, but they'll make the moves and then they'll stop when the computer registered, okay, this was a good move to change the game, or this was a move that could have been better. You'll see. Here we go. Okay, this just signifies that this was the last move, and this, if anybody was interested, this is called the Bayer Gambit. I will have to look up more on this game because I've played this gambit maybe once before this. It hasn't been a lot of times I've played this. Okay, so right here we have, it says knight versus e5 was a mistake. So I'm going to retry that here. Okay. This was the best move right here. And what this does is that the queen is right here and the bishop behind it. This is called a battery. And a battery is when two pieces are lined up together to launch an attack against the enemy king, or against the enemy, or just against your enemy, period. What this does, it threatens checkmate. If my opponent doesn't take care of this threat right here on the next move, if they don't put me in check or take care of this, it will be a checkmate. Let's keep it going. Just says that knight versus d3 was a game changer. The reason that was game changer, from what we have right here, this bishop is pointing at my knight. I castled next move. My opponent decided to bring this knight that was here on b1 out to d2. What that did is that blocked the queen from this square right here, d3. And since that square was blocked, I can now move my knight to d3, putting the king in check and forking this bishop. Let's keep it going. That just says that was the best move. It was a critical move, and it says you found the only good move here. Knight to f4 check. So let me go back 2 moves. Okay. From here, I decided to put my opponent in check just to gobble up material, which is what I did. I gobbled up that pawn. It's check. They move close to me. I check them again, and as you can see, it says that that was the only good move. Okay. So it says knight to g6 was a mistake. There's only one good move here, as it says right here. So we're gonna try that, retry that. And the good move here, I've reviewed this game, so I know the good move here is moving this pawn up to g5. And the reason that's a good move is, one, it's adding another attacker to this pawn. See, this pawn right here is pinned to the king. See, this bishop is launching attack at the king. This pawn is blocking that attack. This pawn is adding another defender here. So if my opponent doesn't add another protector here, I can take this pawn with either my pawn or my bishop and put the king in check. And it's simultaneously adding protection for the knight. Let's keep it going. Okay, my plan here was to just essentially move this pawn up to attack the king. They said that was a mistake. So let's try to figure... Oh, okay, I remember. This was the best move here. And the reason being, if my opponent decides to take my knight with this knight, my bishop will now be pinning this knight to the king. And then I can move my pawn up by, you know, moving up here 2 spaces and then eventually try to put the king in check if the king is still sitting there. Let's keep it going. F5 was a mistake. Let's retry that one. Okay, again, after looking at this game, that was the best move. And the reason that's the good move is because now this knight is pinned to the queen. Now I can attack this pawn. Now this would have been a good idea to do this, because then I'm putting the king in check, and then the king would either move if it can, or it would take with this knight, therefore losing the queen behind it. Let's keep it going. They said that that was a blunder. The reason I did this move was because I didn't want this queen to come over here, let's reverse that, taking this pawn right here. However, I did have a better move. And looking at it, the better move was actually to move my king over here to protect this pawn. I didn't protect this pawn in the game, and my opponent's queen came to attack it. Let's keep it going. As you can see right here, that queen that was here decided to gobble up that pawn. Now this queen can move down here to put me in check. My move was to bring this bishop out right here, protecting this knight, and also, if the king stays there, I can move the knight right here, and that's double check. The knight right here will be putting the king in check, and this bishop will be putting the king in check. Next move. Let's back up a few moves here. So my plan here was to, of course, move the knight out, revealing a discovered check, and the discovered check is when there's a piece behind another piece that can check the king. This knight was in front of this bishop. This bishop is on the same diagonal as the king. By moving this knight, discover check. After the king moved, I brought the knight back because then I came up with the plan to move my bishop there with the knight protecting it. That way the queen is under attack. Now the queen could go down here to this square where I would just move here while simultaneously launching attack on this knight. And after the queen moved and put me in check, or whatever the queen was going to do, I was going to move my bishop here to take that king. If the king was still there, I would just move my bishop there, putting the king in check. Okay, so let's retry the move. Okay, in this instance, it says to put the bishop here. And the reason it says puts the bishop here is that if the queen decides not to check me by going down there and instead takes the queen, this knight right here comes here. And then I'm attacking the king at the same time, and I'm attacking the queen that is now on this square where my bishop was. Let's go to the next move. Okay, so knight to f4 was a blunder. What did they? Okay, in this case, just leaving the knight here, my knight is unprotected. The best course of action was to bring my rook up and just protect it. That's pretty simple. Next move. Okay, this one. What happened is I put my rook here, and what that did is instead of this bishop protecting this rook, it's now protecting the rook that was here, which left my opponent open to take my rook right here. My move, the move I should have made, was actually just to take this rook, or to take that knight. I'm sorry, to take the knight. Next move. Okay, and I made a similar mistake. I could have taken a knight that time, but I also had a better opportunity to take another piece, which was this rook. The king was far away from it. There's a discovered check right there on from the bishop to the king. My rook comes out here, line up with this rook, and can take it next move. Next move. I made a similar mistake there. Like when white decided to move back a row, I simply could have moved my rook here, and now I'm attacking the king and forking the knight. Next move. Okay, right here, I wanted to do two things. One, get out the way of this pawn so this pawn can march up the board. Two, threaten this knight a little bit, or at least add some pressure to this knight. Because see, now, if this rook moves here, attacking my pawn, I simply come down and take the knight. And now this rook is lined up with this pawn, and it's protected. Next move. Okay, my whole idea was coming closer to the rook, so it couldn't keep putting me in check. They said instead of going down, I should have went up. Okay, fair enough. Next move. And that sums up the whole game. And so here is what chess.com likes to do. So they give you an accuracy score based on how you played. And it says game accuracy is a score measuring the accuracy of your moves on a scale from 0 to 100 when compared to the top chess computer moves. That just means when playing your opponent, if you made the moves that the computer would have made. And, you know, of course, the computer has a lot of chess knowledge in it. So it's going to make the next logical move. With these mistakes that I've just solved, it gives me an accuracy adjustment. So the adjusted accuracy had I made all these moves that I just fixed mistakes for, I would have had a 97.4 out of 100 versus the 78 that I did get for the game. I still did better than my opponent. However, I could have did much better than my opponent. But that is all I have for you guys right now. Feel free to comment below. Tell me what you thought of this analysis. I'm going to keep coming out with some analysis videos until I finish my next lesson video. It's going to take a little bit longer because I'm doing my video a different way. But it will be coming soon, within the next 2 weeks. Until then, enjoy some of these analysis videos. Look at what you can from them. If you guys have any questions or concerns about anything, let me know. Comment below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Share the video if you found it interesting and felt like you learned something from it. And make sure you hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when I release new videos. Okay, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.